Welcome back to this month's Coaches Corner podcast. This month, I am thrilled to be sharing the stage with some other Dun Dun Fitness members as well as some other coaches. So we'll go around, and if you could just introduce yourself and tell everybody how you got interested in HYROX and or DEKA. So Amy, let's start with you.
Yeah. I joined Dun Dun Fitness in October of 2021, and I remember there was a group of people who were going to try a DEKA workout, and I think it was like an hour away, and I remember everybody coming back really excited about it, and so I know Missy was also incorporating at the time we were doing a lot of OCR racing, obstacle course racing, and she was looking at this, I guess, as another way for people who didn't want to go out on the field and like risk, spraining ankles and things like that to be competitive. And so she hosted the first event and I was hooked immediately. And I was like, this is fun. It's a fun way to like, I've always been competitive. And so that was something that was really interesting to me. And then I loved it so much. I tried the DECA Fit, and then I think it was in last year in December after Worlds, Missy had, I think, like, I don't know how many teams make it to World Championships. And I was like, huh, High Rock seems interesting, but it seems like I remember Missy saying, or Stacy might have said, like, it's kind of like DECA on steroids. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, what if I try that? And so that's how I just kind of thought, well, let's just try it once and see how it goes. But that's it.
Awesome. Amelia, how about you?
So I'm Amelia, and so I'm a coach at Dun Dun. And before I was a coach, I was, of course, was a client. And before I became a coach, I think is when we introduced DECA at Dun Dun. And I remember not being part of that like initial crowd of people who were getting into it. And when Dun Dun hosted its first DECA event, I was like, ooh, like, okay, like this might be something that I kind of felt like I was missing out on something, and knew that it would be good for me because kind of like Amy, I am also very competitive by nature. So that was a driving factor in me wanting to do at least the DECA event. Kind of, I saw it as like a competition for myself to kind of see where I was at. And I was actually not very good at it because even though I thought I was going to like kill it and be, amazing and have a great time, did not do that great. But after doing more DECA workouts at Dun Dun, and I was able to shave, I think it was 7 minutes off of my DECA strong time in a year's time of just going to workouts at Dun Dun. I got like super, I don't want to say competitive again, but it was it was a very good experience in being able to see how much improvement I had. So when, I guess like Amy said last year, when we were talking about HYROX, I don't know who, it might have been Staci. I don't remember who said it at first, but they were like, hey guys, there's something called HYROX. And I think I saw some videos of it like on Instagram or social media. And I was like, okay, like, yeah, definitely looks interesting. It's definitely like a hybrid sport. And when whoever said it was like, let's do like a team, I was like, absolutely, like I'm all in, not just competitively, but I also love doing things as teams. So I think that kind of just solidified it for me, and I'm so glad that we did it.
Stacy.
Hi, I'm Stacy. So DECA, we started, there was actually an event at another gym. It was a DECA mile. So I somehow convinced a bunch of us to go and just try it. So we did, and little did we know that we'd all love it and get hooked. So from there, Missy did her research and became an affiliate, and it's been, so much fun ever since.
So much fun.
And it is. I appreciate trying to beat my time each time, pushing myself, seeing the improvements. And now that we do teams, I love that even more. Just having a partner, the encouragement from one another. the little bit of a break you get has been amazing. And then HYROX has always been in the back of my head. Again, it was just something that had popped up on my feed. And originally I was like, Katie, let's do this. And she was like, okay. So from there, it was, just researching and seeing how relay teams work, how individuals and doubles work. So I convinced you fools to do it with me. And and again, I think I would 100% do it again and again with you guys. Having a team and the support from you guys has just been awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hooked.
Awesome. And I'm Megan. I'm also a coach at Dun Dun. But like Amelia, prior to being a coach at Dun Dun, I was a client. And DEKA is actually what brought me back to the gym, because I was a client long ago and I took a little bit of a break, and I ran into Missy and she was like, we have this new thing. It's called DEKA. I think you would love it. So I came in, and of course I loved it. But at the time I was like, okay, I know myself. I go all in on these kind of endurance, high intensity things. And I know with my age and everything else, I need to really be focusing on strength training. And I know that by doing that, I will ultimately improve my DEKA results, right? And so when I first came back to the gym, I made a deal with myself that if I was going to commit to going 5 or 6 days a week, if I had a morning where I was like, not feeling the gym, I could not skip a strength day. I could skip a DEKA day, but not a strength day. And so that's what helped me actually stay really consistent, because I wasn't going to skip a DEKA day. Let's be real. I loved it. So yeah, that's what really ultimately got me back into Dun Dun, and I'm so glad. And Staci, actually the next question is, how did the four of us come together as a team? And I was thinking about it and I was like, I don't know. It was certainly pressure, but I couldn't remember who did it. So it was you.
Whoops.
Yeah, so it was one of those things where I'll sign up if you sign up, and then they also have teams. We should put together a team. And that's kind of how it all came together. And I agree with you guys. It's been so much fun, and I would definitely do it again and again.
Mm-hmm.
For HYROX, the four of us competed as a team and also as individuals. But as a team, we ended up getting second place in our division. And Amelia, specifically, I would love to hear your reaction to that news.
Yeah, so going into HYROX, I kind of shared, I know I had both individual goals and team goals for us. And so I think it might have actually been the day of the team event. I shared those goals with everybody. And the main two goals that I had, just looking at previous times of the women's relay in the 40 plus category, I wanted to get a sub an hour, 20 minutes. And I knew that was possible for us given our trial times and things that we've done at the gym, our running times. I knew that was a possibility. If we were on our A game and everything was going right, I knew that would be a possibility. So that was one of the goals, to get under an hour, 20 minutes. And then our reach goal that I still believe that we could do was to podium. And I know when I shared this goal, you guys were you're like, yeah, whatever. Okay, Amelia, you can hope that, but whatever. So we finished, right? We're in the finishers area. And then I think Staci, Missy was outside of the finishers area. And so they communicate weirdly, it's telepathically or something. She goes, I think we got 9. And I'm thinking in my head, okay, there's no way we got 9. Our finishing time was what, an hour and 15? And I was like, that is a really good finishing time. Unless there were other women's groups that were so fast. But we also were the last to start, and we definitely passed a lot of groups. So I was like, oh, there's no way. And I actually was kind of disappointed. I was like, we're not we're 9th, whatever. Okay. So then after we get out of the finishers area, I'm like, okay, well, at least I want to know what other times were ahead of us to see how far off we were from getting on the podium. And then that's when we realized that we actually got second. I guess we filtered the results wrong or something, but we ended up getting second. And that was so exciting. And I was so proud. I mean, I was proud of us in general, but I was like, it's always nice to have like I guess more general recognition. I know we always say it's good to just be proud of yourself for what you do. And yes, I was absolutely proud of us because we crushed it. We did so good. But it's always so nice to have that recognition of, hey, we actually did an amazing job. I think we placed second in our age category, 40 plus, and ninth overall. And I think there were like about 40 women's teams, like in general. So we did amazing.
Yeah, and just to kind of add to that, first of all, I'll never forget you putting the flag on.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say that.
I'm so excited.
And wearing it for the rest of the night. That was just the cherry on top. But like you said, it's always exciting when you podium and you get that like recognition. But a lot of competing is you versus you, right? And so I don't want that like podium to overshine just the experience of being there, right? Because for a lot of people, I know that DEKA and HYROX both are like, everyone can do this. And I know that I've talked to a lot of members who think that DEKA is not for them. Like they'll do the classes or they'll train, but they won't sign up for a competition. And that breaks my heart because DEKA is for everyone, as is HYROX. If that's something that you want to experience, sometimes it is just for the sake of the finish line because it's an accomplishment just to finish. And then once you get that done one time, now you can work to improve your time. So with that said, how did Dun Dun's programming prepare you for this level of competition? And Staci, since you've been here the longest, I think we'll start with you.
Well, I mean, obviously Missy's training is what did it. Again, just going from being used to like a 30-minute workout, getting used to those longer workouts, concentrating on running in between, working on tired legs. Like I think Missy really prepared us for all of that. Even training a little heavier, which we learned on the sled. Really, I was an advantage for us, I think, as we competed. So. Yeah, I'll give Missy the credit there.
Yeah, I think not only the increased time lengths of our workouts, which was very helpful, super helpful, because I guess the average HYROX time is what, like an hour and 30 or something. So we were used to doing 30-minute workouts, which is absolutely reasonable for like DEKA competitions, but for HYROX, with the longer average finish time, it made sense to increase those training or workout times, but also like Staci said, running on compromised legs. Like I know we all have a running history, no matter if we like it or not, but I've been running since 2017. And although I would say I'm a good runner, I cannot run on tired legs. So if I didn't have any of that compromised running training, it would have been a completely different story. Mm-hmm. So being able to, and the gym is really nice because we have that ability to be able to use our space so we can do our station workouts in the gym and then just head outside and run whatever distance we need to, and then come back in and continue our training that way.
Amy?
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback on what Staci and Amelia were saying, one of the things that I think was really, really helpful was just Missy understanding the mechanics of each of the movements we were doing. And I remember her like videoing all of us just to make sure, like to show us what we were doing, how we can be more efficient. And that was a game changer for me, just because I was doing I thought I was good. I'm good. And then like Missy was like, well, you're expending more energy than you need to here. And that to me that was amazing. So it's not about, just like, well, also, running on tired legs but also just like the loaded carries and the sled pushes, the wall balls, the like those burpee broad jumps. Those are my nemesis. But one of the things that like, you can really hurt yourself if you're not doing it correctly. And so that was something that I was just kind of, it really moved the needle for me in my training because I was training smarter instead of, yeah. But for me, that was kind of like just, in addition to what Amelia and Staci were saying, that was a really powerful thing for me to take in.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Missy is just so good at what she does. Her programming is, I think, top notch. But then to your point, Amy, that attention to the smallest details. And if she knows that you have a goal, she will make sure that your programming reflects that
Yeah.
goal, as all the other coaches as well, right? She loops everybody else on the team in, and then everybody kind of rallies around you to make sure that you're doing it the way that we showed you, those kinds of things. We're pushing you. Yeah, I really have to give Missy a lot of credit. And even when you think, I don't know about that, you just have to
Yeah.
trust her. You have to trust her because she always knows.
There's like so much behind the scenes. I feel like that, like as a client, I had no idea happened. And as a coach, really, there's still so much that, I know is happening, but don't like, it's just, there's too much for me to comprehend. So like, I'm even thinking of the spreadsheets that Missy made for all of us.
Yes.
We told her our goals and she was like, all right, like absolutely. And we did time trials and then she put all of this, and I love data. So like she put all of this data in these spreadsheets for each of us and was like, this is what we need to focus on. And then, made the programming that way. So there's so much behind the scenes that like, we don't even see that is just so important to our training.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then even like the conversations that happen during training, right? There was a conversation in the gym just this morning where someone was like trying to get their burpee time better, but this person was very tall, right? And Missy was like, don't waste your time. You've got so much length to get all the way up and all the way down. Like focus in a different area where your height is your advantage, right? And so those kinds of conversations can also be really helpful because as the athlete, we get caught up on these things that we think have to happen, and she kind of does a good job bringing you out of that, and giving you something else to focus on. So that brings us to our next question, which is what makes the strong together style of training different from when you're training on your own? And I'll start with this one. I need that community aspect. I have a full gym in my basement. I have a membership at a different gym just because of family membership thing, but I will not go. I'm 9 times out of 10 will not use what's available to me. I like seeing other people in the gym. I like when other people are cheering you on and you're cheering them on. There really is just, for me, nothing better than being with a group of people. And in my opinion, Dun Dun has the best community around. And so with that, I'll take it over to you, Amy.
Yeah. And I think, I also have a membership at another gym that I just run, like when it's raining or snowing outside. But the community is really, it's the community and it's also the strategic programming. It's like, I don't have to think about anything when I come in. It's like everything's already planned out for me. I just get to follow directions and be coachable. But one of the things that I think was amazing with training with the 4 of us was that everybody brings their own like gifts to the collective. And so like Amelia with the spreadsheets and like giving us times that we have to, that like let's aim for this. And that was just having that like data. And then Staci bringing all the vibes and like motivation, and she's gifted as a trainer as well. And then, Megan with the nutrition piece, like, are we fueling properly? I just feel like I was and Missy, of course, as a silent member of the team, also not even on camera, but she's like the brain, like the person who's orchestrating this collective environment for all of us. So I think I feel so happy and blessed to have like gone through my first HYROX experience with all of you and training together. And it just made it fun. If I knew that like, y'all were waiting for me at 5 a.m., on a Saturday, I was going to be there. And so, yeah, that was awesome.
That's how I feel. Our little HYROX Hotties chat group has got
Yeah.
me up every Sunday to go and run. Just because I didn't want to let you guys down. So
Yeah,
having
same.
a team to push you through it. And you guys are also encouraging. So
Yeah, you guys are all amazing people, and it's always so nice to have that community aspect like everyone's talking about. And for me specifically, it has been really nice to use you guys as my role models, because although we are all the same age,
he's the baby of the
although we're all the same age, I am so inspired by every single one of you in different ways, and it made me more motivated to be like you. And so each day I would wake you. Tuesdays, Thursdays are harder for me because I, work those days. Saturday's a little bit easier, but still I'm kind of like, I want to sleep in. Our main, HYROX training days. It was almost impossible for me to say no, because I knew that in order to better myself, I needed to go, not only to be accountable, like we talked about, but and also I think Amy saying that it was fun, because it was fun. Like, I think that makes a huge difference in our training, and I don't think it would have been fun without you guys.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think that makes a huge, like, if you have fun doing something, you obviously are going to hopefully continue to do it. So I think that made a huge difference as well.
Yeah, and we always do a good job keeping that fun as like sort of like a top priority. Training is top priority, but also so is fun. Like even earlier this week, Staci and I were working out together, and I was trying to catch her, and I was like, "Why are you?"
Because I wasn't gonna let her pass me. That was my goal, and I told her, like, you slow down, I slow down, like.
So it's just, I don't think I've ever done a full workout at Dun Dun without laughing at least one time.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
And we all lift each other up. Like
Yeah.
everybody lifts each other up. Like you can sense when somebody's just struggling. Yeah.
For sure.
Good time. All right, Amy, this question, we're going to start with you. What recovery or injury prevention tools were essential for you?
Oh, yeah. If I could just have my 20-year-old body back. So I'm in my 50s. And I think like one of the best investments I ever made was in compression boots. I got like, I think Therabody, because I was actually interested in the Theragun, which is also another one of my that's a recovery tool in my arsenal. But they were having like a package deal, so I got those, and I use those almost every day. I also started scraping, like muscle scraping, especially after runs, just because like as we get older, we're more prone to injuries and things like that. But so those two were really in terms of like just having a device, like something, a tool of some kind. But really, sleep has been a huge recovery tool for me. I kind of sacrificed. I used to come to the 5 a.m. class at Dun Dun, and I started focusing on my sleep, like really understanding how much sleep I was getting. I was only getting like 6 hours a night. And so I started prioritizing. I'm a business owner, and so I have more flexibility in my day. So I started taking calls early in the morning so that like around like 9:30, well, 9:30 is like early for me because I go to work out at 7. But so that's been really helpful for me. It's just like kind of using that time to sleep in, and then kind of pushing back my morning meetings a little bit. That's been a priority for me.
Yeah. Staci, how about you?
So recovery, I'm learning the importance of stretching afterwards, because again, I'm in my 40s and I can't just work out and then go hop on the couch anymore. I have to prioritize definitely the stretching, hydrating, BCAAs, all that good stuff. But yeah, I think stretching for me has been the most important thing for recovery after.
Yeah. And I think, sleep, nutrition, stretching, mobility, like all of those things that everyone has access to, that is the baseline, right? Those actual tools that we use can help improve recovery, but they're not going to do it without, like you mentioned, Amy, without sleeping, without eating properly. You really you have to do the basics. There is no supplement. There's no tool that's going to do all of that for you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, Amelia, this one will start with you. How did your nutrition change once you started training for HYROX or DEKA?
Yeah, so I've had a nutrition journey, and I'm still working on it. So my nutrition, I guess I should say, I would say I was bulking. Like I had a very long bulking phase during HYROX because I prioritized protein. I knew that muscle mass was very important, and I wanted to focus more on strength training as well. So instead of focusing on the number of calories that I was getting and restricting and making sure I was maybe in a calorie deficit or calorie maintenance, I didn't necessarily, I don't want to say count my calories because I don't do that in general, but I didn't pay as much attention to it. And I instead focused on my protein intake. So I made sure that I got a source of protein at each meal. And with every snack, if I did have a snack during the day, that I had a source of protein as well with it. So I would say that it was definitely a change for me because I don't think I've ever done like a bulking phase, and I don't think I knew I was like in a bulking phase until I think I sent Megan a like something on Instagram. I forget what it was, but I thought it was so funny. Oh my gosh, you know what it was? I don't know if this is important or should be in here, but I'm gonna say it anyway. So it was a video of it must have been like a wild hog, like sprinting. And it was like me trying to run well in a bulking phase or something. And so I'm like, this is totally relatable. Like, this is how I feel. But it has been a mindset change too, because, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this as well, but I've always had issues with body image and self-esteem. And so I feel like, especially being a female in today's society, we're always taught that smaller is better. And that mindset for me, ever since starting at Dun Dun, has changed for the better. I'm still struggling with it at times, of course, but seeing these women around me and seeing you guys and how strong you are just inspires me to be more proactive about building my muscle and being healthy versus being small. So I think that mindset change had helped me in this bulking phase to not feel like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm bigger, because I was like, I weighed more and I felt bigger and I was bigger. But I think that helped me to be okay with that, because even though I was bigger, I was stronger and I was faster. So I think both of those things were a big change for me during this training.
Yeah. Staci, how about you?
Yeah, that was Missy had to hide the scale from me. Protein for sure was priority. I'm trying to learn to not be afraid of carbs. Like sourdough bread is like my new favorite thing in the world. I love it. And just making sure I'm getting good carbs. But yeah, I've always had that, carbs are bad, don't eat it. So just learning that they were okay and that I was getting, the same results, by still having it. So, but yeah, protein for sure was my main priority. And again, not getting in my head and weighing myself every morning and getting that set number in my head. Just had to like let that go. Actually, I think I've complained to you a few times, Megan, about scale. But yeah, I'm better for it. So yeah.
Yeah. And just to, Staci said everything that I was thinking, like, so I've been since I joined Dun Dun in 2021, I've released 45 pounds. And so like, I've been in a caloric deficit. Like I know like where I should be every day. And just kind of like when you're training as intensely as we were training, I had to like let that go. So protein, non-negotiable, but it's really difficult to switch that mindset shift to not be so focused on what the scale is saying. So protein was non-negotiable. I started looking at it as being like the structural integrity of my body. And so I was looking at like between 30 and 40 grams every meal. And just like Stacy, like, when you're perimenopause, menopause, like, we're kind of taught that we have to be careful with carbs because they can, but that was something that I really had to let go of too. And I started introducing like, I'm also sourdough. I love sourdough. I have it every day for lunch, but I started also introducing complex carbs. So like sweet potatoes are like my favorite. But like oatmeal, quinoa, like those types of foods have been really helping me like kind of think of my body as more like a machine. And then, just also making sure that I'm getting like my healthy fats in. And so it's less about the calories and more about just like feeling my body. I think there was a point where I was probably maybe just running on fumes and cortisol for a little while when I was just joining Dun Dun and trying to get a hold of my eating habits and things like that. So I think that was probably those three things I would say are probably the where I focused the most.
Yeah. And I would agree with all of that. Carbs and protein are so, so, so important when you're training as intensely as we are, or as anyone is when it comes to HYROX or DEKA specifically. But yeah, this is a conversation that I have very often with people, especially women, when we are training for performance or fueling for performance. Being in a calorie surplus is going to be optimal for performance. It's also going to lend itself to probably gaining some weight. And so that can be very difficult to get over. And so, we're always in this constant push and pull, like my weight's going up. I don't like that. And there's always another event coming up, right? So we do have to kind of find that balance between eating at maintenance, or maybe like a little bit of a calorie deficit if we have gained a little bit of weight. But if you have an event coming up, you must eat at least at your maintenance calories, if not a little bit of a surplus. Or you sacrifice, your performance, you sacrifice how you feel in that workout, and you also sacrifice your recovery. So you really do have to pick one, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right, Amy, I'll ask you this one. How do you balance fueling your body with the demands of real life, work, family, stress, everything?
Yeah. I think when I first so if I think of my life like before Dun Dun and like after Dun Dun, like before Dun Dun, I was kind of like all over the place. And I wasn't really prioritizing exercise and movement as part of my mental health, like caring for myself that way. So I really I need to work out. I need to exercise so that I can release stress. I'm a business owner and it can be lonely and stressful. And so that has been like just everything else aside, like movement has been really critical for me to be able to handle stress. In addition to nutrition, which has been amazing, like just shifting to fueling my body, I also started front loading my day with calories. So like I have a big breakfast and I have a kind of big lunch, and then my dinner is a little lighter because I also am prioritizing sleep. And I found that when I was eating later, especially getting up at usually I get up at 6 now to be at the gym by 7, but just making sure I'm getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep. I also have to be really careful about like snacking at night and things like that. I also I'm always drinking like, it's, I'm drinking like basically my body weight in ounces every day. So that has been something else that I've helped, that has really kind of just balancing, fueling my body. And also I think that like community in and of itself has been really good for me, like being around other people who lift me up. And I have like a pretty strong inner mean girl. I'm really hard on myself. And so it's just really nice to be around everybody. That to me is fuel. Just being around the community. It's where I get my energy. I feel better after I leave the gym. I'm happier. So I feel like just all of it together has been really great for me in all areas of my life. I'm a better, friend. I'm a better wife. I'm a better mother. So all of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, so it sounds like just getting like experimenting a little bit, like you said, front loading your calories, understanding that for you, it works better to have a little bit of a smaller dinner so that you can get a better night's rest.
Yeah.
And nutrition is very personal, right? So what works for Amy might not work for somebody else. So I do encourage you to experiment and see what works. And then also some of these stories, I know for me, sometimes, before done, I would convince myself that it was easier or quicker to like go to Chick-fil-A for dinner. Well, it's not actually. It's a 20-minute drive. Then you have to sit and wait in line. Then it's a 20-minute drive back, and I could have made dinner in that time. And so that's the biggest mindset shift that I have made. Not that we don't ever have Chick-fil-A, but we're not doing it 3 or 4 times a week anymore. So we're saving money and also having just better nutrition overall because of those small mindset tweaks. Okay, what are some of your favorite go-to fuel sources for before or during the competition? And I know we all have a little bit of a difference here. For me, I like to stick with things like Pop-Tarts or like fruit snacks for before and during. For me, they're very quick. They're not super sexy. They're not marketed as like performance fuel, but they work for me. So I know that everybody else does something a little bit different. So Amelia, we'll shoot it over to you next.
Yeah, so I'll talk about my general, I guess, my go-to fuels, and then in regards to the HYROX competition specifically. So I was lucky because I was able to kind of use my fueling strategy I use 10Ks and half marathons from what I run, because I feel like HYROX is kind of like smack dab in the middle of my times for a 10K and a half marathon. So I used that experience and my body's comfort with that to be able to fuel for HYROX. So in general, what I'll do is, of course, electrolytes. We talked about nutrition, like you said, making sure you're getting adequate nutrition, calorie maintenance, or surplus even, leading up to. But actually, doing a carbohydrate loading is very important 2 to 3 days before for me. So sticking with that. And then on race day, what I'll do is again, stay hydrated with electrolytes, but I use goo gels. And I think Staci has an example. So the goo gels, they come in lots of different flavors. I am also lucky in the fact that my stomach is very nice to me. So it can handle a lot of different things. So the goo gel that I use now is the first one that I ever tried. It's very cheap. It's on Amazon. So I didn't really have to go searching for it. But I believe it is 100 or 200 calories, but it has a significant amount of simple carbs, so easy to digest while I'm competing. So I'll take one, dose of it about 5 minutes before I start competing. And then depending on the length of the competition or what I'm doing during the competition, I'll take another one every 30 to 45 minutes. So for HYROX, I was a little nervous because we were competing not early in the morning, which is when I normally go, which is great for me because I don't eat before I should. And I know I'm supposed to eat before, but for the HYROX, I did end up eating because, again, it was later in the day. I made sure that my full meal, as much as I could eat because I was a little anxious, was about 2 to 3 hours before our competition. And then hydrating, and then again about 5 minutes before I competed, I took a goo gel, and I had one on me so that I took it right before the rower, because for me that was about 45 minutes into the competition, and I knew I didn't want to take it before burpee broad jumps because of all of that up and down. I didn't know how my stomach would handle that, and I knew the rower was kind of a rest station for me. And the really nice thing about the goo gels is that you can like stick them in your bra or like stick them in your pocket, and you have them there for you. So So for me, it was an easy transition. And I always recommend nothing new on race day. So I didn't want to try anything new on race day. So it worked out well for me.
Yeah,
Staci?
yeah. I mean, yeah, it was hard with HYROX because our time was so late in the day. But typically, yeah, I make sure I eat something that I'm familiar with, that my body's like stomach's familiar with. I'm kind of lucky, I think, a little bit because nothing bothers my stomach. So, I mean, I'll eat a Swedish fish off the floor and be fine. So, but I do like a pre-workout like powder. I like to do that about 45 minutes to a half hour before I go. And then with HYROX, I kept my goos with me and tried to go every 20 minutes with it. When I'm doing more of like a Spartan Savage race, I usually go by like 2-3 miles. I'll reload with it. And then some of them too, I'm learning like with caffeine, without caffeine, if I really need it, don't need it. I've been trying to split that up a little bit too, just to keep myself going. And yeah, I hydrate. I get water when I can. If I'm out on the course, I'll wear a hydrating pack. That seems to help.
Amy, how about you?
Yeah, and so I have a sensitive stomach, so I feel like this is still full transparency. I'm still working on this. I haven't found what works perfectly for me yet. Sugar, I can't have anything with sugar. It upsets my stomach, and so I was using UCAN energy gels, which are sugar-free but are loaded with simple carbs. And so I was taking that about 20 to 30 minutes before our race. And then the nice thing about having Missy as a trainer is she'll tell us when we should be, based on like where we're pooping out, when we need. So I was just like, I'm just doing whatever Missy's telling me to do. So it was like after I think it was the sled push to get ready for burpee broad jumps. I was pooped by then. So I took an energy gel there. And then and I had basically the same as Staci every 20 minutes. And then when I have been experiencing cramping when I'm working out, which I'm in my 50s. And so like, as I read more, I'm like, that's not uncommon. But I have these sucker punch. It's just basically like pickle juice that I'll use. And that kind of helped me. I started after blowing out your calves on the sled push and then going to then burpee broad jumps. I started cramping as I was running out of the burpee broad jump area. And so I took one of my pickle juice shots, which carried me through to the end of the race. And then after the race, that's when my whole, like both legs started to seize up. It was so embarrassing. So I feel like full transparency, I'm still trying to work on like I think I might have over salted beforehand. Which Missy was telling me is something that could also have happened to me because I felt so hydrated. I was like, how I'm doing everything right. How am I still cramping? So that is something that I'm working on. But I felt great. Like the feel wise, I think I was doing everything well because Missy said like she told us when we should start focusing on loading. And so I did that. I loaded. I'm good at following directions. And then, yeah, then I just kind of, due to the muscle stuff, that's where I started to it go downhill. But I felt great.
Yeah, and that kind of leads us into our next question, which is regarding hydration. So does anyone have any tips about hydration, before, during the race, really to avoid dehydration, but also that dreaded dry mouth feeling that comes with like maybe the Deka Fit, but especially the HYROX?
Go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I took advantage of the water stations. I know it was taking time, away from my goal or whatever, but I needed it. I mean, sitting on the row where I was trying to get somebody to squirt water in my mouth, nobody would do it.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I do. I chew gum. They do make, I chew gum, and then halfway through, I put a new piece in, and that helped a little bit. But I know, like, Amy, do you use the Xylem sometimes? but yeah, anything to just keep that moisture in my mouth. I'm down for.
I do the same. Yeah, and I started using Xylamelts for DEKA because we're not allowed to have water on the course. And so I started, they're like these little tablets that you put on your gums, and it's just enough to wet your mouth a little bit. But yeah, hydration on the course for HYROX, absolutely. And just making sure that if you're planning ahead of time, like that was one of the things that stressed me out the most. Just like, am I going to have access to water? Because if not, I'm going to wear my vest. And so just kind of really understanding the course too. I was ready. I brought it with me just in case, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I know one of the things that we were thinking about when training was about like, should we bring water with us? Like, I know, Amy, you tried the burpee broad jumps with your water pack. So I know, and trying to figure out like what would be best. I have seen people like bring like plastic water bottles with them throughout the course in HYROX. I know it's possible as long as you keep it with you the entire time. But I know it can be like somewhat a hindrance in those particular exercises. So it's kind of like you said, knowing the course, knowing what works for you. But I would also say like, just because we don't see other people doing it doesn't mean we can't do it, right? So like I know one of our conversations was we haven't really seen anybody with hydration packs. Like when we see videos of HYROX, like the people we see competing like don't have hydration packs. So we're all like, I don't know, like should we have hydration packs? But just because we don't see other people doing it doesn't mean that it would be best for us. And I know I'm very self-conscious, so I'm like always like, oh, I don't know, I don't see anyone else doing it. So, but even if we need it, I think that would be important to do.
Yeah, it's all very individual, right? Some people can go through the whole race without having any water, although for something like HYROX, I don't recommend that. Definitely at least take advantage of the fuel stations that they do have, but always be careful because like you mentioned, I think Amelia, they don't always have water. Sometimes it's like an electrolyte and you might not be used to that. If you're, someone like Amy who has a sensitive stomach, that could be trouble for you, right? So know what you're going to have access to or not, and then just bring your own if you're allowed. Again, with DEKA, you're not really allowed to do that, but the DEKA tends to be a much shorter, more compact race anyway. So, all right, last couple questions because I know we're kind of easing up on time here. So how has being coached helped you train smarter and avoid burnout? So Amy, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, I think just I don't have to think about anything. It's like training is just I'm excited. I'm like here for it, whatever, even though we might be cursing like throughout the workout, it's just something that yeah, having a coach has just been so amazing. Like I know like you have blind spots, like everybody has blind spots. And if you're not paying attention to what you might be doing wrong, or if you don't have a coach who's watching what you're doing, then you could really injure yourself. And it's also too just the strategy that's behind the coaching program. We felt so prepared for the HYROX collectively. Like I remember when we didn't have the sleds that they use in HYROX, and so I remember Stacy being like, "Let's try to see it. Let's see what it's like to push, and let's see what it's like to pull." And we were all like, "What? This has been training us so much harder that it felt light." And so I didn't have. So it was just really nice to feel so prepared mentally, like with my mindset, since I do have a strong inner mean girl, like. She didn't have a thing to say because when we showed up, we were ready. It was new, like the whole experience was new, but we had enough faith in our abilities to be able to move through the race competitively that I feel like it was just like I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have even thought about doing HYROX really without having a coach. Yeah. So
Yeah, for me, it was in my head, I was thinking, like, I have to practice 100 wall balls every day. How am I going to get through it if I don't do them all the time every day? And you really didn't need to. I think I only practiced actually doing a full 100 once or twice.
Yeah.
Like just incorporating all the other stuff in it, having, your tired body and pushing through it and knowing what you can do was just, I mean, that's where Missy is just so smart and helpful, because in my head, I just would, think, well, I just have to keep repeating 1,000 meters. And there were some days we would do 3,000, some days we'd only do 200, but it was important learning pace and breathing and all that other stuff, not just getting to that rep as fast as I could.
Yeah.
So that's where she was definitely very helpful for me.
Yeah, I agree with both Amy and Staci. And I know for me, also, not just the accountability, like we've talked about a lot, having a coach, having a team, just those two aspects, making me more accountable for my own health, both physically and mentally, so that I am ready for myself and my team. But it also made me kind of do some self-reflection of my own goals. So, and I guess like to stretch that a little bit, like for my own purpose. And I don't want to get too in depth here about like my life's purpose or anything like that. But when I find that I am like passionate about something and I end up like in some type of training, and in this aspect, it was physical training, and I'm improving myself mentally and physically, I often find that it is very hard for me to get burnt out. So having a coach, having a team, to be able to be there for me. And again, with that self-reflection piece of thinking about, what is this doing for me? Why am I doing this? These are the reasons. This is super important to me. If that aspect is important to me, then I don't feel like I get burned out, because I know that's a very possible thing that can happen, especially when motivation's already low.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that Missy specifically does such a good job, not just with her programming, which we've already talked a lot about, but knowing her athletes individually, knowing what's going on with them in their personal lives, and knowing when to push them because they've hit some sort of like mental block, or knowing when to pull them back, right?
Yeah.
If an athlete has, stress up to here this week or whatever, maybe this isn't the week to go all out, and go for that extra run. And Missy's pretty vocal about those things. So again, that goes back to the trusting her, right? Because if she tells you to do something or not to do something, trust that she knows better than you do, and that she really does have your best interests at heart.
For sure.
All right, so this question, we're going to go in age order. So we'll start with you, Amelia. What's it like competing in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, and has your mindset changed?
Okay, so I was 29 when we did our HYROX competition, and I have since joined the 30 club, which actually I'm very excited about, okay? Again, because I have such a mindset based on my environment and seeing all of my friends and all of the clients here at Dundon. I think the average age is above 50 at Dundon.
Yeah, 55,
55.
I want to say.
Yeah. So like seeing all of these clients, specifically women for me, because that's who I can most relate to, and how inspiring they are, just makes me think that I can be like that. And so I initially started getting into like exercise, working out, just as running in my early 20s. And it was for like overall health. I have a pretty significant family history of cardiac issues, of heart issues. So I knew that I needed to start doing something. I was very sedentary before then. But then after going through a lot of different biology classes for my degrees and things like that, nutrition classes, learning that like strength training is actually more important than cardio, finding a gym that supported that was super important to me. And so Dundon was that gym. So for me, starting with that mindset of overall well-being and health in my fitness journey was helpful when I made that transition to Dundon. And then seeing all the people around me and how inspiring they are with their strength and their stories makes me want to be like them too. I will say that now that I'm in my 30s, my strength has been better, but my mobility is terrible. So I even during HYROX training, I think the biggest surprise to me was like my hip mobility. So like particularly during burpee broad jumps, I would struggle initially with like my hip mobility of trying to like get my like foot up to where my hand was for it to be more efficient. So that kind of was like a like bell going off in my head, like, okay, maybe your mobility is like not as great as it was, in your early 20s. So I know that I still need to work on that greatly. And I need to work on just incorporating mobility work during the week, during one of my days of exercises, at least, to get better with that.
Yeah, I'm the next oldest, so I'm in my 30s, and I would say I've always worked out. I've always been in some sort of team sport growing up. So that's always been just a part of who I am. But in my 20s and really my early 30s, it was much more about being small, being the smallest like I could be. And in my later 30s now, that mindset has been more like, I want to be strong. I want to be fast. I want my kids to see me set a goal and then work hard to accomplish that goal. I think that is so, so incredibly important. I could cry like talking about
Yeah.
so that's really what keeps me going and keeps me accountable. But to your point, Amelia, that strength training component is not my go-to. That is, if I'm going to work out on my own, I will go for a run. I will do some sort of like HIIT workout. I am gonna get there one day, but not today to do a strength workout on my own. And so to have a place like Dun Dun where it's mostly women, we love our guys too, but we do have a mostly female demographic. And yeah, just to see everybody getting stronger, pushing themselves, lifting heavier weights. It's such an inspiration, and I love being a part of it. Staci?
I'm next. I'm 46, so I'm the 40s girl. Yeah, I wish I knew that, like, in my 20s what I knew now. Growing up, I never really, exercised much, but I would starve myself. I would eat an apple a day, chew a piece of gum, just so I could be small, thin. So learning the importance of strength was just huge for me. Again, I mean, nutrition was probably the biggest like shock for me. Like incorporating the two together, like how much better I feel, my body feels. Like it's been like world changing for me. And just losing those bad habits that I essentially grew up with, changing my mindset. Again, like growing up doing like cardio was what you were supposed to do. Like that's how you stayed thin, stayed active. So the importance of strength, like you said, is just mind blowing to me, like, and just how much better I feel. But adding that along with nutrition is where I think was my biggest strength. So I'm learning and still learning.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
All right. Well, I'm bringing up the rear. So I'm in my 50s. I'm 53. And I'm actually at the age where I was like, wait, am I 53 or 54? But it's interesting, like just listening to where each of you are in your life. And I remember I was in high school and there was this thing called like the saltine diet. And that was like the first of like body image issues that I had. And I was literally like, I think I was in ninth grade when that started. And one of the things I think has been amazing with Missy's coaching has been like getting rid of the all or nothing. I felt like when she would talk, I was like, she's talking to me. Like you start something and you're good, and then all of a sudden you fall off and then you're bad, And so like just being able to have like lots of self-compassion and like just making small changes instead of burning the whole house down, that has been really powerful for me. And I thought when I joined Dun Dun, I really thought that my best years were behind me. I was like, I've always been competitive. I've been an athlete. Up until I was around like in my early 40s, I kind of felt like I gave up on myself. And when I joined Dun Dun, I was like, oh, okay, like this is the things that y'all were doing were fun. And so I wanted to be involved in that. And I'm in the best shape now that I like mentally and physically than I've ever been in my life. And yeah, I get emotional just like thinking about it. But um, in my 50s, like I have lots of years of mistakes, behind me. And I just love like where I am right now. And I'm so grateful. But that said, competing in your 50s is way different than it is when you're in your 30s. And so the muscle built like the muscle training, like functional strength training, which is what we do 3 times a week. That has been really good for me in like injury prevention because I have lots of knee issues and lots of years of abuse on my joints and all of that. So now I'm training smarter, and there's still I do use exercise as like a stress relief, and there's still nothing like a good run or like a good hit. So like mentally, I think that's where I get like the most. It's just like you leave it all out on the track or the trail or whatever. But it is really important to be able to do that. And the foundation is with the strength training piece, which has been really and we don't have to think about anything. Stacy just tells us what we're doing. And sometimes we pay attention. Sometimes she has to explain it 20 times. But yeah, it's just, I'm so blessed to be where I am in this journey. Everything's changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so as we age, particularly each decade, you can kind of get away with a little bit less than you could the decade before in terms
Yes.
of
Yeah, that's so
nutrition, your
true.
recovery, right? All of that. But what I'm hearing and what I love so much and what I think our community kind of does a really great job demonstrating is that really every decade gets better and better in a lot of ways also. And continuing to prioritize yourself and prioritize that strength training, that sleep, that nutrition will only continue to guarantee that every decade will be better than the decade before that. So I love that so much.
Yeah.
Me too.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. This was awesome.
It was
Thank you.
fun.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you,
Any
Megan.
final thoughts from anybody?
I just love you guys.
I was gonna
Me
say that.
too. Group hug.
Group hug.
Thursday I can hug.
Oh yeah, so much love. Do a dun dun on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Dun dun.
Dun.